My name is Tarmac, and this is your Game Industry News Wrap-Up for the Microsoft E3 2016 press conference. For more game industry news, follow me on twitter.com/gnomecast. The stage is set, the lights go down, and what is revealed but a slimmer, whiter Microsoft Xbox One called the Xbox One S. The S for slim version of the Xbox One console has a few changes outside of just being a smaller box for the same performance. It can play back 4K Blu-ray video, though not 4K native rendering in video games just yet. In an amazing advancement of technology, Microsoft has included an IR blaster port for all of your mid-90s TV remote control needs, and in a roundabout admission of failure, there is no dedicated Kinect port, with existing Kinect units needing to use a special USB adapter to function. The Xbox One S standard version will be available around August for $300 US. Now, before I get into the games, I wanted to talk about some of the overtones of this conference. Microsoft had a real tone of change about them, and it's interesting because I think they're operating from a position of power here. They did an absolutely excellent job of spinning Xbox One and Windows 10 as the same platform throughout the entire press event. Just about every game being shown exclusive or at least first on those platforms. Their focus is on this new thing called Xbox Play Anywhere, which isn't universal yet for Xbox One games, but is definitely where they're moving. If you buy a game once on Xbox One, you can play it on Windows 10 and vice versa. Now, will that apply to games that you buy on Steam and not the Windows 10 store? That's doubtful. It was also interesting to see Xbox One Slim come along and be totally ignored after it was announced, as Microsoft did its best to remind PC gamers that all of these games are available on PC too. Quite a different tone than in the past. Microsoft and the Coalition Studio announced a reasonably pretty brown Gears of War 4. Glad to see that the characters look a little bit more like humans than bags of testosterone-infused meat, though. The game featured some pretty stunning effects, but does still suffer from chest-high wall syndrome and convenient destruction-making bridges, unfortunately, though. It was also more than a little odd to see the focus on heavy gore killing, only to have a brief period at the end of the demo they showed with Kate, where a wee bit of swearing had to be censored out because, it's more socially acceptable to show killing, something most of us will never do, than it is to show cursing, something every one of us have and probably will continue to do. Forza Horizon 3 takes to the Outback with import cars galore, and in true Forza fashion, the cars are absolutely gorgeous. This time around, though, the game is an open-world design with a co-op campaign where a Lamborghini can race against a dune buggy and somehow not get stuck on a sandy beach because physics. One oddity about this one has to do with the session joining, where your friends can instantly join into your game, which does kind of imply an always online structure. The game is part of the Play Anywhere functionality, and they showed this in the demo with Windows 10 and Xbox One players racing together. ReCore is an interesting looking title. It's a third-person action platformer of a sort where your character has the support of a variety of robot animals, each with a specialty of some kind. The game looked ridiculous to me until I saw the spider, where the main character throws a grapple and the spider jumps to that location to carry her around. That was pretty slick. What's the game about? Not a clue. Square Enix was in town to show off the Final Fantasy XV Titan fight. You know, the one that in the trailer ends with a fade to black when the hand slams down on the ground? Personally, I love the idea of massive boss battles like this, but I found that the combat was extremely repetitive, which if this had been a traditional Final Fantasy active time battle system game, that would have been fine. Given that it's a third-person action game though, this whole arm swipe over and over and over a bit, it just got boring to watch. Hopefully, the rest of the bosses are better. Xbox Live is getting some interesting changes. They started off by talking about some of the recent changes, including backwards compatibility and crossplay, which was hilarious because just like when you visit a racist relative, you can tell when they've been coached not to be a bigot in front of the nephews or grandchildren, in the same way, Microsoft is incapable of saying the word PlayStation.
Rocket League recently enabled this across all of the networks that allow it.
The new features being added are as follows. Clubs, which is kind of like a guild without a game. Looking for group is obvious and doesn't infringe on the WoW system in the slightest, except being exactly the same. And finally, Arena, which is a tournament platform on Xbox Live that numerous game developers will be able to natively host tournaments within. This is also probably a good time to talk about the Xbox custom controllers. You can choose a number of different color sets for varying pieces of a controller and order that custom controller, which they'll ship to you. And that's pretty slick. There's something oddly appealing about the little video that Microsoft showed us of a game called Inside. All it shows is a very gray, sparse office, and yet communicates a sense of desolation and dread that has more impact than the Gears of War 4 video did. It's a game built by Playdead, the studio who made Limbo. I don't know what it's about, but this promo video just makes me want to see more. Next up, that held a huge amount of interest for me, is Gwent, the CD Projekt Red Witcher computer card game. They have a register link at playgwent.com where you can sign up for a chance to be in the beta test. Here's the thing about card games. The last thing we need is another Hearthstone, and that's exactly what Elder Scrolls Legends is. It's just like Hearthstone. But Gwent, especially when hearing Damien from CD Projekt Red talk about it, is absolutely nothing like that. It's a multi-round card game where strategy matters most. You might even choose to lose one of the rounds because it helps you win the overall game itself. The core game of Gwent is like it was in The Witcher, but with added mechanics and a fully redesigned graphical presence. The closed beta begins in September. The last really interesting game that was shown is called Sea of Thieves, and let me be perfectly honest here, folks. If this game is true to the footage that they showed, it will be enough for me to upgrade to Windows 10 to play it. And it would also be the genuine return of a titan of a game development studio because it's being made by Rare. Sea of Thieves is a multiplayer pirate game. It's all about the usual pirate stuff, but it has a great stylized look, and in classic Rare fashion, you can drink yourself stupid, but that's not really where the game shines. The footage they showed included ship battles and had the players working together to raise the anchor, bring the sails down, steer the ship, and fire the cannons. The lower levels even filled up with water as the ship was being fired on and they weren't able to fix the holes fast enough. Let me tell you, I don't get hyped by game trailers as much as I used to, but this one, I want this game. So hopefully, it's accurate. I've got very little to say about a few titles that were shown, but I'll hit them one by one here. Killer Instinct is adding General Ram from Gears of War. The Division has an expansion with the edgy, gritty name Underground. DICE showed the same Battlefield 1 trailer that we saw at the EA presser. Minecraft Realms takes Minecraft and makes it entirely cross-platform, whether Xbox One, Android, Windows 10, or iOS. Tekken 7 was shown, and will launch it early 2017 with more features than Street Fighter V has right now. There were a few zombie games shown, but none of those looked impressive. And Halo Wars 2 was shown, proving once again that I have no desire to play an RTS with a controller. And we're going to finish it off the same way that Microsoft did. The last thing that Microsoft showed was a montage of well-known developers talking about the partnerships that they've had with Microsoft and what kind of hardware that they would like. We'll excuse the one dev who said something about the highest quality pixels ever. It's not like it was pre-recorded or anything.
We can render at 60 hertz. We can render fully uncompressed pixels. These are the highest quality pixels that anybody is seeing.
The announcement was for the long-rumored Project Scorpio, which is the upgraded Xbox One. They didn't assign a name. In fact, they actually called it Project Scorpio. So, here's my moment to shine. We have a press event by Microsoft with an iterative designed Xbox One being confirmed. Full cross-platform compatibility with Windows 10 and thus PC architecture. I'd like to take this moment and say, I told you so. We're now into the realm of iterative advancement for at least half of the console market. There won't be another true Microsoft console generation. Now, that said, they didn't really tell us anything about Scorpio other than it will be powerful enough for 4K rendering and virtual reality. That's a tall order to have ready by the target launch of fall 2017, but I'm certainly curious to see what Microsoft does with it. This has been your Game Industry News Wrap-Up for the Microsoft E3 2016 press conference. I'm Tarmac, and you can follow me on twitter.com/gnomecast for more game news. Thanks for watching.